Hello, and welcome to WJ's podcast, Hallway Pass. My name is Samar Jahanbin, and I will be your host. So, as an introductory, I want to talk about what this podcast will be about. Each episode, we will be discussing an overarching topic, a theme, an idea, ranging from WJ issues to national issues and what's going on with the world around us. And for this episode, I want to talk about something that I usually bring up in conversation quite a bit, especially this year, about how this wasn't part of the plan. Now, my initial ideas for this podcast was to do it in school, to be able to have a direct connection and response with other students, other staff members, other teachers, and have them have the chance to voice their thoughts on what they think about the school or what they think about different issues. Because we always have our SGA members, we have our SMOP, but we never have students who aren't either members of anything particular. Maybe they have a club or a little activity that they like to do, but they aren't known for being a part of WJ. They're just students. And I wanted this podcast to represent these students because they are WJ. They are a part of WJ and what makes us a school. That's also why I named this podcast Hallway Pass, because when you think of a hallway pass, it's always that one little ticket that lets you go to the bathroom, to visit your friends, or walk the hallways, or do something other than being in class. This is the one chance that you're out of this whole monotone classroom setting where you don't have to listen to a lecture, you don't have to do a math worksheet, you don't have to look at a textbook for 45 minutes. You can take this break and finally be yourself. And obviously, I can't do a lot of the things that I wanted to do on this podcast. I can't talk about, football games anymore, or school events, or even things like homecoming or prom. And I can talk about them in a way, but I can't talk about what it was like to be at prom. I can't talk about what it was like for students to go to homecoming or to go to football games anymore. Because we can't do that now, and we probably won't be able to do that anytime this year, unfortunately. But because of this, it gives me a new topic to talk about for the first episode, which is the entirety of 2020, and what an insane roller coaster it has been for everybody. I mean, no one could have ever predicted anything that would have happened this year. I remember on March 13th, we all thought that it was just this 2-week little break and none of us were going to take it that seriously. But I have been stuck in my house for 6 months. I'm losing my mind. I was supposed to film this podcast in school. I'm in my bedroom right now. This is insane. All of the things that have happened this year are just, I don't know how to put it in words. And I guess we can start by talking about the seniors and what life was like for them. I mean, I'm not class of 2020, so obviously I can't comment on everything, but for a lot of my senior friends, they missed out on prom, graduation, the whole senior year moment, spring of senior year, having to do college online. And while, yes, they finished all their tests and they finished all their required courses, a lot of the seniors, if not all of them, weren't able to experience their prime high school moment. Senior year is meant to be the one year where you finally get to have fun. You're done with being a teenager. You finally have some freedom to do whatever you want to do. And because of Corona, that got taken away from all of them. And even many of my friends who are now paying so much money to only do their colleges online, at home, which is insane. And what's even funnier is us as the class of 2021 thought we were gonna get away with Corona, but we have to do our senior year online too. Not only that, almost all of our major standardized tests that we needed to take for college are canceled. Since March, SAT and ACT every month, they have canceled and they've rescheduled and they've changed their dates, and it became this whole complicated process. And now many of us aren't even able to take these tests anymore. Many of my friends that I know of, they haven't been able to take any of their exams, which sucks because from freshman to junior year, you're told that the SAT and the ACT, they're important tests and that you need to take them if you want to get into college. And they're put at such a high placement mark on this college application process. But once you're told that you can't even take these tests that are so important anymore, your motivation just diminishes. And because of this, colleges are going test optional and their admission processes are changing, which is screwing up the whole college application process. And now we don't even know how to apply to college anymore. This has all been just a very strange time where no one knows what's going on. No one knows what they're supposed to do. We're all just kind of floating in the water and just waiting to see what happens, hoping there's no wave coming ahead. Even teachers had to adjust. I mean, towards the end of the school year, we were all told that this was just going to be a temporary thing and that we might just be coming back in the fall, so no one took it seriously and teachers just submitted assignments and called that a day. But now that we have to do school online, a lot of the teachers have to adapt to this new classroom setting, whether it be through Zoom or the new Canvas program that we're doing, or Synergy, which is now our new portal, apparently, which I never understood why we needed a new program to check our grades, but apparently we did. Who knows? But yeah, teachers had to adapt an entire new way of teaching, which I can't even imagine how difficult that must be. And to have to change your entire course list, especially AP teachers, they have to adjust to different lessons and maybe cut down a bit of material, but it's just been insane for everybody. And I feel like part of why everyone's going crazy is because of quarantine and how none of us have been able to actually go outside normally in 6 months. And now it feels like we're all just living over one very, very long and overextended March. And because this summer didn't even feel like a summer. It just felt like every other day. You'd wake up, do whatever you can to keep your mind busy, whether it be watching Netflix or trying to pick up a new hobby that you eventually get bored of and toss in the trash afterwards, or try to catch up with future schoolwork because you have nothing better to do, and then you just go to bed and do the same day all over again. And because of that, I thought that school would make a difference, that once school started, that everything would be semi-different and I might actually have a routine, but I haven't. I'm still stuck in the house. I still am bored constantly. The only difference is now I can be bored with calculus homework. And it would just constantly add and add and add towards my boredom. And because of that, I realized something over this quarantine about how school should not be this hard. I remember last year being stacked with piles and piles and piles of homework, study guides, quizzes, tests, constantly being bombarded with so much work to do in so little time, and I would always stress over them, and I wouldn't sleep, I wouldn't eat, there would be days where I would forget to eat because of how much work I had last year. And now I'm able to do those same assignments that takes me a day now that would have taken me a week in school, which kind of makes you realize how much buffer being in a class was. I mean, we would constantly go through lecture days or note days or do just busy work for a random assignment that we didn't even have to do. And it would take majority of the class period, and most of the time you would have to do that work outside of school. And you would have other projects that you would have to do. And if you've ever taken an AP course, you know that usually people do an end of the year project. What was that all about? I am so glad that online classes happened in the end of the year, because I was not excited to do an AP project for any of my classes that I took that year. Absolutely not. Do you know how much a waste that was? It would be June. Students would be ready to get out of school and finally go on their summer vacation, but they had to do a random history or science project that was worth like 50% of their grade. What was that? What did people gain from that? I never understood the purpose of them. Maybe they do have an actual purpose and I'm just being a bad student, but I never understood it because no one wanted to do these projects. We were all ready to get out of school. Our main priorities in June were not doing homework. And on top of assignments and classes, what quarantine has also introduced to me was this disconnection from people. I mean, yes, we still talk to our friends, we still text them, FaceTime them, call them, what have you. But that whole personal connection is gone. I'm not able to see my friends in the way that I want to anymore. I can't go to concerts with them or go to parties or go into events with them anymore. And if I want to go out, I have to wear a mask all the time, no exceptions. And also be aware of my environment, be aware of what people are doing, who's around me, what am I touching. And this all has created a different mental state. And because of this, I can't connect with people in the same way anymore. And even now, when I started school in September, I wasn't able to recognize half of the people in my class. I forgot about a lot of them because I didn't see their faces every single day in the halls anymore. I wasn't able to tell them, oh yeah, that's person A. Oh yeah, that's person B. I know of them. Oh, I've seen them in my class. They're in my algebra class. They're in my history. I can't say that anymore because I haven't seen them in my history class since March. And now that if I see them again, it's through a Zoom call, I probably won't be able to remember their name. And because of that, school now feels just like this weird event that I have to go to for attendance and for grades. You know, this is the first time in, I would like to say, a lot of our lives where education and school isn't the first priority anymore. You know, we always went to school. Everyone always told us school was your main thing. You go here almost 7 hours a day, 5 days a week, and you go there, you do school, you do your work, and then when you get home, you still do your work from home. So school was always on your mind. Your school, what time you had to wake up for school, what time you came home from school. If you had any extracurricular activities or sports, you were still in the school or you were tied to the school through a team or a sport. So your school and your education was always on your mind constantly. But because of Corona, because of quarantine and this whole online learning, it's not in our minds anymore. You know, this is the first time where we have to be cautious of every other thing around us. And even recently, the governor of Maryland just announced that he might consider opening schools again. And I personally would not go. I am not risking my life or my family's life to go to school. While yes, I care about my grades and I care about my future, I also care about my health. I also care about the health of others around me. School wasn't going to be my determining factor in what I decided to do anymore. Even during spring, we didn't even have grades. We had a pass or fail system. So our individual assignments didn't even matter. As long as everyone got a C or above, you could technically get an A in the class and still be fine. We could take 50-point assessments that are worth 80% of our grade from our bed. We didn't have to worry about the teacher looking at us or making sure we weren't cheating. We didn't have to worry about going to your next period or being on time or going to lunch. We just opened our laptops, took the test, and closed it, and then continued with our lives. And with that, the entire seriousness of school just has been stripped down. I don't even take school seriously anymore. And I know that's not the good thing to say, but it's true. I still do my assignments and I still do my work, but it's not because of a teacher that's gonna look at my paper and judge it. It's because it said that I had to do one online and it was due by Friday, so I did it. That's all the thought that I put into it. If we were in actual school, this would be different. I would be more focused. I would be more attentive and engaged because I can actually see people. I can actually see the teacher looking at me and checking what my Chromebook history was on because those things are tracked. My laptop isn't. I could be watching a Netflix show and still do a Zoom call and no one would know a thing, which further emphasizes my point about how school has just changed its entire demeanor since last year. And of course, I would love to return back to school once it's safe and once it's not dangerous and the corona is not a threat anymore. But I feel like even if all of us return back to school, if corona was not a thing anymore, it got cured magically, and we will all have to return back to normal, I don't think we can. I don't think anyone could be able to return back to normal. Whether if we come back by next semester or even to college next year, no one can exactly fully recover from something like this. Mostly because this is the first time we all have experienced anything like this or a pandemic before. No one knows what exactly the protocol is for an event like this. But I hope that if we do end up recovering, that we could learn, especially school departments, especially Montgomery County and every other school department, and learn about how school isn't our only priority. There are a lot of students at home who can't do online calls, who can't go and turn their camera on, whether it be because of family issues or personal issues or who knows. But I hope that we'll be able to actually take this seriously for once and understand that students have lives, teachers have lives. We are still people. We still have lives to live. We still have parents and friends and other family that we want to protect and that we want to take care of. And in order to do that, we can't always be focusing about school all the time. We have to take a step back and pay attention to what we do as a society. And who knows, maybe this will be a future lesson for another pandemic in the next 100 years. We'll never know. But the one thing that we can take out of this insane year is that anything is possible. And none of this was what we thought was going to happen for 2020. Hopefully, the future year will be better. And hopefully, there will be a time where I can do this podcast in school and talk directly to people. But until then, the podcast will be online. And I strongly encourage you guys to continue listening and listen to future podcasts because they will have other people in them, not just me. And whether COVID or not, this podcast will be an opportunity to broaden the voice of members of WJ and be able to represent what this school is really about, which is its students. And so that is it for episode 1. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to tune in for the next episode. And yeah, hope you all have a wonderful day.